Morning, everybody. This is Mark, and we're back here for the morning call. It is Monday of Thanksgiving week, which means we have an abbreviated session, at least for the U.S. markets. Let's just go to the charts and see what we got going on. So last week, one of the best weeks, I think it actually was the best week for the market on an indice basis. From a trading basis, it was pretty good. We have worked our way back up to basically up to unched a little bit for the year. Recovered very nicely from our bottom, and at this point it is selective. The move continues to be selective, but that's okay. You really got to go with the best in breed, what's been working. You don't have to spread yourself out too many ideas, too many indices, too many sectors in order to really get paid in this tape. Let's break it down on some charts. So here's the spider chart right now that I'm looking at. Again, you can see the nice move we've had from the lows, a week and a half ago to, I think it was that Thursday, Friday, to now. And, maybe you get a little bit of that digestion this week, but I think the move's in, and my gut says we head higher into year end across the board. And so that's the spiders. You can see the IWM, which again has continued to lag a little bit, still not the leader, and the Qs, which to me probably looks the best at this point in time, but it did have a nice move. Stock-wise, you know what I'm going to be talking about. It's at this point stocks that have come out with good earnings. You can call it the FANG stocks, the stuff that everybody's heading to as this market continues to grind higher. Google hit new all-time highs on Friday. We were talking about it continuously for the last few weeks. Nice little base. You got to get involved on pullbacks. It's now new highs. It looks like 800's in the cards for this stock, and it's going to continue to work its way higher. Amazon right now probably the best go-to stock. I am long a little bit overnight. It looks like it, what is it, I think 675, 676-ish, new highs. Seems like it's going to hit it this week, if not today, as long as the market obviously hangs in there. And it looks like it's going to be moving to 700 very quickly. And that's just where we're at in this tape. Facebook, nice digestion from, a few days ago where it actually penetrated the 21-day, which was the first time it did that in a long time. But recovered. It was not even an intraday. It was only an intraday move that it went below there, held above, and at this point it's basing over the last few days above 108, 107.75. Looks pretty good for new highs. Nice little flag forming across the board. NFLX, which again hasn't been my go-to stock for the most part, just because of how it's been trading and really was lagging the other stocks for the most part, but recovered very nicely last week, and you can just see, going into Monday, it didn't look like anything, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and now you're looking at almost new highs, which is 126-ish. Could get there very shortly. So we're actually 129s. I'm sorry, I was looking at something different, but it looks like it's there. I would like to see a little digestion, to be honest, rather than seeing it just race to there. But we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Tesla had a recall on Friday, came down initially, and has worked its way back up. Didn't really, really just a little bit solid base. Not the go-to stock I've been looking for compared to the Facebooks, Amazons, Googles, but again, it's always something on the radar. And then Apple had its week last week, and looks pretty good. I would like to see a little digestion. It basically filled that gap that happened. It looks like on the earnings front, or on a downgrade of some sort. And now it's basically should digest right around here, the 120-ish, for a period of time to see if it either wants to go back down a little bit or head a little higher. But is it priced to perfection? Again, we know the market cap, we know what's going on at that point in time. Other high beta that's really not acting great, but I think has to be on the radar. Expedia should be continuing to be on the watch. It got hurt last week because a lot of the businesses in Europe, so that got hurt, and so did Priceline a little bit. I can't get up that chart, but Priceline, you could see it hit its moving average and came right back down. A little more digestion. It probably gets back up to some key moving averages around the 1330 level, but I think it might be a little bit of time across the board. So that's about it for high beta. PANW looks okay. W Day that came out with earnings, which reversed okay on the earnings play, but overall, it's not. These are not my go-to stocks, and I try to keep it simple. On the biotech front, we have a few. VRX had its week last week. And you could just see maybe 94 is some resistance. That is a key moving average up here around 92, 93. But it did have 2 big days, and we were all on top of it in the VTF. So if you were aware, it's something we really haven't been looking at, but it's always been on our radar. And really, I think it was above the 77 level, started to get some momentum, and you could see where it closed 91. So it's a very nice trade across the board. I know big news, AGN, Pfizer, but I think a lot of, it's down actually this morning, even though, the price is being talked about is around 360. It got an upgrade. I think it's just a matter of, is the government going to stop the merger to some extent or change it up a little bit based on, tax ramifications. So that remains to be seen. We'll have to see how that plays out. Banks, they're fine, but not a whole lot of action there. That's why I don't mention them a whole lot on the VTF. You can just see Goldman's just hovering, a little boring. Citigroup's hovering, a little boring. JP Morgan, they moved up a little bit last week, but again, same topic, a little boring. You had some IPOs last week, which priced actually below the private equity, the private valuation, which I think is still interesting. The Match, which a little different, but Square I think was the big one. Private IPO was private market $6 billion, went public at 3, probably at 4 now. So you have to wait and see. Is that going to change the whole unicorn idea that really has been in the news over the last few days and obviously over the weekend? So we'll have to see if that affects the private market. More companies want to go public, or rather than what's been happening over the last year and a half is these companies go public at perfection, and then they seem to come down from there. We can see it across the board with GoPro and a few other ideas that we have on our radar. Another bio that should be watched, but it's thin. I don't really recommend in any sense trading it, but it's something to watch. The KBIO, it's the same guy who got all the news, same CEOs who got all the news with increase in drug prices from the last company he bought and took private, or not took private, but raising them 2,000% to some extent, and got a lot of heat from all the presidential candidates. But I think the insiders own 70% at this point in time, hence why the stock was 40 cents, and now it's up I think another $5. So not for the faint of heart, very thin, but something that is on the radar. Oil keeps lagging this tape at this point in time. If you're going to be playing it, I almost think you just play it from the short side. OIH really hasn't done a whole lot. Schlumberger and Chevron, some of them had a good move 2 weeks ago, and then they've just been lackluster since. And I think that's really, I don't see a need why, towards the end of the year, they're going to need to, bump the prices up to any extent, bump these stocks up. So at this point in time, until something sets up on a daily or smaller time frame, I'm basically just watching them. And we're going to go from there. So overall, guys, I think this market, it's not giving you a whole lot to trade intraday. I think you got to really have a lot more conviction on your ideas, try to find prices that you like, and really take advantage of it accordingly. Another idea that I've been sitting in probably for 2 weeks at this point in time is Microsoft. There's a trend. There's a definite, these stocks beat earnings. They were either leaders or they're new leaders, and obviously Microsoft has been getting its mojo back. I'm looking probably for new highs this week, and if the market stays up, it's one of those that really hasn't done anything since the earnings play. So it's on the radar. Intel did a nice move with some upgrades and some other product announcements last week, and you could just see some of the big cap stocks that we've been playing, that we haven't played in a while, came back to life. On the downside, we know what happened on Friday. CMG, a little follow through on the downside this morning with some more, I think it's E. coli. And at this point, you probably have to go back to your weekly to find a little bit more support. I don't really see it at this point on the daily. It's certainly, from a trading point of view, you can go both ways, but it's a volatile issue, and it's affecting other stocks also. But again, this problem at some point will go away. McDonald's, I don't even know if that was affected that much. I really haven't played that stock. But, Disney I know looks good. McDonald's wasn't affected at all. It actually probably got some buyers. Disney looks great. So it's a market, as Scott likes to say, have-nots. Selective is the key to trading. I've been trying to really press that with people on the VTF. If you're not listening, tune in here and there. I think there's a lot of good nuggets to be said. But the more you overtrade, the harder it becomes. Have some ideas, have your prices, and let the prices play out. At least right now, that's the tape we're in. We're not, the VIX is not 25 where you have to chop around and try to get in and out, back and forth. Different type of tape than we were a month and a half ago. Quite frankly, it might have been 2 weeks ago. We'll have to see if that continues. But overall, tape looks good. It looks like we're heading higher, certainly with the issues that I talked about. Those are what I'm focusing on, and they're going to continue to be what I focus on. Good luck today, and I'll see you back at the close.